अमेरिका से, जापान से, हर जगह से आदमी आएगा, लेकिन इंडिया में फंसा हुआ उसके लिए कोई चिंता नहीं है।
और पुलिस वाले भी परेशान कर रहे हैं, मार रहे हैं, तोड़ रहे हैं, भगा रहे हैं। इसकी हम इंसानी, हम कोई जानवर वानवर है।
बिहार जाना चाहते हैं, हम लोग कुछ भी सुविधा नहीं मिला, हम लोग भूखे मर जाएंगे यहाँ कोरोना से।
अरे कुछ साधन नहीं करवा रहे तो पैदल तो जाने दो। मेरा बच्चा छोटा है, 2.5 साल का, रो रहा है, मम्मी घर पे आ जाओ, मम्मी घर पे आ जाओ, कैसे जाऊँ?
मरना तो भाई, मगर इस मौत से तो ये मौत ठीक है, बच्चों की जान बच जाकर पहुँच गए तो
हम भी यहाँ पे भूखे प्यासे मर जाएंगे वहाँ पे हमारे पिताजी।
These are the voices of just some of India's migrant workers who are forced to walk thousands of miles, battling against all odds to get back to their families, to hungry children, to sick parents, to get back to their homes. Hey everyone, welcome to Change Begins, our weekly podcast with me, Mahim, where we discuss the zeitgeist of the nation along with stories of change driven by citizens. Continuing with our COVID series, in this episode, we'll talk about the migrants issue, which is unfolding as a national crisis right before our eyes. Now, as of mid-May, 350 trains have reportedly carried over 3.5 lakh migrant workers across the country. We've all seen the situation worsen into a crisis with some very painful incidents that underscore the gravity and the enormity of the situation. Whether it's the 16 migrant workers returning home to Madhya Pradesh from Maharashtra who were crushed to death under a train, or the 5 on their way from Hyderabad to Uttar Pradesh who lost their lives when a truck carrying them overturned, or the thousands of nameless, faceless Indians who continue to walk miles and miles in sweltering heat, battling hunger and thirst besides the life-threatening risk of the coronavirus, just to get home. We know we could die, but at least we'll die at home, is the common refrain among them. Joining us today is journalist Rajdeep Sardesai, who's covered the migrants' crisis comprehensively on TV as well as written about it in his columns in newspapers. He's also suggested the formation of an all-party national task force on COVID. He'll also be joined by Professor Jagdeep Chokar, a former professor at IIM Ahmedabad and co-founder of the Political Accountability Initiative, Association for Democratic Reforms. Professor Chokar started a petition on change.org asking the central and the state governments to provide free transport to stranded migrants. So let's first go over to Rajdeep to understand how did this situation turn into a crisis and a national disaster right in front of everyone's eyes. Hi Rajdeep, welcome to Change Begins.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on this podcast.
So where do you think the problem began? How did it all go so wrong?
Look, I think the problem of migrant labor and the urban poor in particular has always existed in this country. It's just that Corona has given it a face. The fact is that there are lakhs and lakhs of workers in this country who are daily wage laborers, who've always worked on the margins. They're the ones who built our houses, our swimming pools, our penthouses, our highways. And the fact is that they've always been, in a way, at the mercy of contractors, of very weak social security provisions. As a result, they are the most vulnerable whenever a crisis happens. And of course, this is unprecedented. But the nature of this lockdown has meant that they've lost their incomes almost overnight. And that's the reason why I believe they have been so badly affected. So the problem begins with the fact that we are a desperately unequal society. And we've tried to paper over the cracks. But over these cities of gold that we see lurks this underclass which is simply living on the margins and facing extreme destitution.
Now, the plight of the migrants wanting to return home is being contextualized within the larger picture of how the government's handling the return of Indian citizens in other countries. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
You know, I've seen how there has been opinion writing that sort of contrasts the treatment that has been given to Indian citizens living abroad and trying to get them back, and saying contrast it with the way migrant labor has been treated. At one level, that's unfair, because I believe every Indian citizen wants to go home. Just as the migrant labor want to go back to their homes and villages, so do those living abroad. They want to come back home. But look at the way it's been built. You know, the return of the Indian citizen abroad is called Vande Bharat, almost as if this is some grand homecoming. No one will say Vande Bharat when it comes to the migrants going back home, because you're walking 1,000 kilometers, your feet are aching, and in the hot sun you're desperate with your family to go back home. So the contrasting images of someone coming in a flight with the Vande Bharat cheering, and someone coming back or going back to his home or her home having lost all income, these are all very, very contrasting images.
Yeah, the contrast is stark.
I just wish that the government or any government recognizes that every Indian citizen deserves dignity and justice. This is not about compassion or pity, it's about dignity and justice. So whether you are an Indian citizen stranded abroad, or whether you are an Indian citizen who's desperate to go home to his village, you deserve justice and compassion. And because you're at the bottom of the pyramid, as the migrant laborer is, frankly, they have never got justice. They have never got the due dignity. And I just wish that we had many more trains and public transport from day one for them. Why did it require 5 or 6 weeks for us to start these Shramik trains? Why is it that so many of them have to still pile up at the back of a truck?
Yeah, it does essentially seem to be differential treatment divided along class lines.
That's where the unequalness comes in. And that's where I believe the system is deeply, deeply flawed and treats the migrant labor as simply part of an anonymous multitude, refuses to give him or her a face and the dignity that he or she deserves as a citizen of this Republic of India. You just treat them as another vote bank, which is not the way you treat the NRI or the Indian who's stranded abroad.
Also, Rajdeep, what do you have to say about the role of the media in this situation? Do you believe the issue has been raised adequately?
Look, I think by and large the media has done a fairly reasonable job in covering the plight of the migrant labor. I know that over the years we've been accused of not doing enough to reflect the darker side of what's going on in society, that we are responsible for, particularly in the TV media, for this polarized debates that take place in TV studios. But I do believe that a number of reporters have gone in the field, reported extensively on the migrant issue. I know personally at India Today for 30 days, every day I have run a Get Real India story highlighting the plight of the migrants. So we have covered the story fairly extensively. I feel saddened in a way that it's taken a crisis like this for us to sort of turn the camera glare onto the migrants, but maybe that's the nature of the news cycle in a way.
Also, on the same subject, do you think the government's intervention, which many say on this issue has been slow, has largely come about due to the pressure built by way of media reports?
To some extent, possibly. I'm sure the government was shaken by the images that we showed of migrants walking back home. But I'd also like to believe that there are a lot of well-intentioned, well-meaning officers in government who recognized that there was a crisis and did respond to it. Maybe the media had a role to play there, and I hope we continue to play that role in the future as well. Show the compassion, show the empathy for those who need it most, and do not revert back to type by just doing these shrill, polarized debates in studio. So yes, maybe we played our own little small role, as did so many others, particularly civil society activists, in highlighting the issue of migrant labor.
And finally, Rajdeep, how do you view the recent economic package of rupees 20 lakh crores announced by the PM in the context of addressing the migrants crisis?
I think the recent economic package of 20 lakh crores, let's not add up the number of zeros, was a welcome announcement. In the context of migrant labor, most of the effect is in terms of providing them trains to go home. Remember, many of them are still paying for those trains, so hopefully now they won't be asked to pay, though we still don't know whether they'll eventually have to pay for train tickets. I think in terms of providing them free food and ration over the next few months is a welcome step. But you need more, and the more is cash in hand. Where this package, in my view, and I only echo what I think far what reputed economists are saying is that at a time like this, what people want is cash in hand. There's an income problem which leads in turn to a demand crisis. You need to increase demand and consumption. That will only come when you provide incomes. The poor at the moment do not have any income because industrial activity has come to a standstill. The government is addressing the supply side issue, but what of the demand side? What about putting cash in hand? How about giving 5,000 rupees into every Jan Dhan account now? I mean, that to my mind was where I think the government has missed a trick, or has really perhaps got it on the wrong end, has got the wrong end of the stick. And I'm disappointed to that extent. But look, any step that is taken to alleviate the misery of the poor is welcome. The irony is, even as the government was making these announcements, hundreds and thousands of migrants were still walking home or piling on in trucks and buses or struggling to get a train. So the two images of grand announcements being made and translating into reality on the ground, there is a stark contrast there. We need to ensure cash in people's hand which they can spend productively. That to my mind is the real challenge that we face going ahead when it comes to migrant labor.
So cash in hand is key to pushing demand, which in turn will drive consumption. And the Jan Dhan accounts could really be the channel to facilitate that. That was Rajdeep Sardesai providing us with some valuable insights about what's been going on, why things are the way they are, and what could be the most effective way forward. Now let's talk to Professor Chokar, who started a petition on change.org asking the central and the state governments to ensure free transport for the migrant workers to return home safely. Professor Chokar, on the surface, governments are doing their bit, with the centre providing rail transport and state governments claiming to arrange road transport for the migrants. On the ground though, the journey that the migrants have undertaken for their homes seems to be an endless one. What do you think is not working?
Well, what is not working is a couple of things. Number one, while it is true that the centre is providing rail transport and its states claim to arrange buses, but the fact is there is no one agency which is willing to take complete responsibility for this activity. As we have seen, the railways have been saying that they don't have permission from the state government, and the state government has been raising some other excuse. It is just falling in between the stools. Number two, there seems to be, again, no ownership. I think what is required is to have a kind of a mission approach to this. It has now become a kind of a political football, and people are scoring political points without worrying about the human beings who are suffering.
And you started a petition on change.org, and in just a week it's gained massive support. What led you to start the petition?
I started the petition on change.org because after having filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court and having had only very limited success on it, and when I realized that this problem is continuing to grow in size and in intensity, then I realized that what was required is perhaps a public outrage or a public cry to do this. And that is why I decided to start the petition. And I am kind of gratified to note that a lot of people have signed it, and fairly quickly. What is being asked of the central and state governments is that they should put aside all their differences of politics or whatever else, and they should do all they can to help these migrants get to their homes and their villages as soon as possible with as little discomfort as possible.
So, Professor, what do you think is the way forward in this situation? I mean, is there a real solution to it, or will it just all be an endless series of efforts?
The way forward is quite clear. There has to be one single agency who takes complete responsibility for moving the migrants from their wherever they are to their homes and their villages. And this single point responsibility can best be taken by the central government in general and by the Indian Railways in particular. Now, the excuse that the railways were not running trains because they had not received permission from the state governments to run these trains is not acceptable at all, because the railways do not need permission from anybody to run a train when they want to run it. The track is owned by the railways, the platforms are owned by the railways, the railway stations are owned by the railways, and therefore no state government can prevent the railway authorities to take a train to a station which it owns. The catch perhaps was that if the railways ran these trains on their own, the railways will have to foot the bill. But if they got a request from a state government, then the bill will go to that state government. Therefore, what the whole mess amounted to is some amount of money which will be spent on running these trains. Now, for such an amount of money to keep thousands and thousands of people hungry, thirsty, on the roadside, lying on the railway tracks and dying on the roads and the railway tracks is completely inhuman. It becomes even more difficult to swallow when thousands of crores of rupees have been deposited into the PM Cares Fund. Could not that money have been used to run these trains? So this delay and dilly-dallying in not running trains when they were most needed is extremely irresponsible of the railways and, in my opinion, of the central government. And that is the way forward. The railway should be given charge to reach these migrants to wherever they want to go.
As Professor Chokar said, there's been a lot of back and forth between the centre and the states, a lot of dilly-dallying, which has essentially meant that the migrant workers stranded in various places all across this vast country have been left high and dry, first waiting for help and then just setting out for their homes on foot, leading to this crisis, this human catastrophe that we see before us now. The way forward is to identify and designate a single body in charge for ensuring the migrants' safe return home, while also ensuring that they have some cash in hand in order to sustain themselves as well as the economy. That's all that we have for you in this episode of Change Begins. Log on to our website to check out the range of issues that we are working on. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have any comments or suggestions, do let us know. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.